I think politically, we couldn't be happier. Looking at the polls, the actions of the Democrats, certainly looks like Donald Trump is on track for a major victory come November. Young men are leaving the Democratic Party in droves, and Gen Z is potentially one of the most conservative generations in 100 years. Now, that doesn't mean they're more conservative than boomers. It means in 100 years, they have moved more conservative than the previous generation. So I think that's an important distinction when people say this. But we are now starting to see among younger voters, Gen Z, support for same-sex marriage on the decline. Conservatism on the rise among males, at least, though younger women are moving further left. It's interesting. How this will play out in November, again, will be interesting. Now, I certainly think the dating thing among young people, the men will lead, the women will follow. I do believe that social media influence will drive younger women, and millennial women in general, into voting Democrat. But I strongly believe that if all of the guys move towards conservatism, watching shows like this or Crowder or everything else, their values will shift and it will greatly improve their lives. And this it'll attract women. Oh, they were roasted. We got attacked for this one. This one's funny. Because I just told guys to work out. I was like, get fit, start going for walks, start exercising. Just take the responsibility of yourself to get in shape. By November, y'all should be fit. I'm not saying ripped like Arnold. I'm saying by November, feel good, look good, just a little bit improvements, right? But here's what I think with the voting pattern of Gen Z. And I know we're going to talk about oil in a second, but young women are going to be attracted to these guys. There will be social pressure, but this is the direction I think things will go. And this is bad news for Democrats. So now we got this big story. The Biden administration is again canceling plans to refill the Strategic Petroleum Oil Reserve. Why? It's actually quite simple, my friends. If Joe Biden were to divert supply of petroleum back to our reserves, prices will go up. And if prices go up, he loses. Yeah. Now, that's why I say politically things look good. Now, I don't know about you, but shadow campaign wise, I can only say I certainly hope Republicans have a shadow campaign because Democrats are they're engaged in a shadow campaign. We'll put it that way. We have this big story that's been going around the past week where the Social Security Administration is showing hundreds of thousands of people trying to register to vote with no IDs. And in one week, 23,000 dead people tried to register to vote in Missouri. I can't explain it. Maybe the website's wrong. That's a possibility. But this is the big news. You see, Joe Biden drained the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. What's it for? Emergencies and war. Like we have this strategic reserve in the event that there's no more oil and we need to make our machine, our government, our country, the machine operate. So Joe Biden drains it to artificially lower prices by a little bit. Because it increases the supply. Now, if you were to divert petroleum back into it, it would increase demand and prices will go up. The Free Beacon reports the Biden administration on Tuesday again canceled plans to refill the Strategic Petroleum Reserve after selling off nearly half in 2022. The Department of Energy said that in keeping the taxpayers' interests at the forefront, it would not go through with a planned purchase of roughly 3 million barrels of oil for a reserve site in Louisiana. We will not award the current solicitations for the Bio Choctaw SPR site and will solicit available capacity as market conditions allow. We will continue to monitor market dynamics, the department said. The refill cancellation came as American oil price benchmark West Texas Intermediate on Tuesday rose above $85 a barrel, about $6 more than the administration's target price for purchasing oil to refill the reserves. Domestic crude prices are likely to remain too high for the remainder of the year for DOE to resume its refilling up program. You see, they were trying to short the game. They were trying to unload our oil at a time when prices were high, lowering the cost, making Biden look better. And to be fair, you can argue maybe his intention was provide some relief for the American people. I kind of don't believe it because this is a strategic reserve, but sure. And then the idea was we release this now, prices go down. Then we wait until prices drop a little bit lower, buy it all back up, bang, and we profit. Basically a short on our own strategic petroleum reserves. But it ain't working, my friends. It's just not working. And now they're not going to refill it because prices are actually going up. And everyone's none too happy about this. So what do I say? I say this makes it, look, everything looks great politically going into November. I pulled up Statista's YouGov data, most important issue for voters in the U.S. in 2024 by party identification. And what you'll see here is absolutely fascinating. What we saw from Gallup the other day is that currently in this country, there are more Republicans than Democrats. It happens periodically, but it's typically the other way around. Right now, according to the data, people polled lean Republican. Among independents, it's 50-50. It's not 50-50, but it's split. So of the 41% of people who are independent, you have about 18% Democrat and Republican of independents. So like they're independent, but I lean Republican or I lean Democrat. This gives Republicans a 2% edge in party affiliation, which is huge. But now here's what's really interesting. Most important issue for voters in the U.S. in 2024 by party identification. The data is March 2024. Immigration at 33%. Democrats don't care at all. And this is why they are losing party members. Inflation and prices matter to Democrats. Republicans and independents care much, much more. The interesting thing is that Democrats, according to this data, don't seem to care about all that much. Independent voters care greatly about the economy and not much else. Makes sense. They're thinking like, I just want the economy to be good. Republicans are looking at core issues that will make this country function, which includes national security, taxes and spending, immigration, and inflation prices. Now, I'll tell you this. The Republicans are in the majority. These are the issues that matter. Democrats just do not care about anything. You look at what's the most important issue, and I'll tell you this. When you see the Republicans are hyper-focused on core issues, it's because these are actual major crises. Costs of goods are super high. People can't afford to eat. There's an invasion at the southern border, overspending, and weak national security related to border issues. Democrats are fairly even across the board on all of these issues. Why? They don't watch the news. That's why they're Democrats. I showed that video yesterday in the 1 p.m. segment where the guy's screaming like, why are the police standing with Trump? Ah! And the dude believes every single hoax the media says. Imagine being that dumb, sitting there watching MSNBC and believing every hoax. It's sad. I feel bad for the guy. I really, really do. Ladies and gentlemen, the big news where they tried to convince you that things were looking bad for Trump was that Joe Biden raised $25 million in a single night. And they said, look at this. It's a record. Well, from Axios, Trump campaign on track for $43 million night in Palm Beach this weekend. Make America great again. Again. Okay. Former President Trump is on track to raise $43 million at a fundraiser in Palm Beach on Saturday, in what many billionaire Republican donors are considering the kickoff for the general election, sources tell Axios. The haul would eclipse the 26 million raised by President Biden last week at his celebrity-studded Radio City Music Hall event, which was billed as the largest fundraiser in political history. Trump's inaugural leadership dinner, led by hedge fund billionaire John Paulson, tops out at a chairman level of $824,600, which includes dinner seating at President Trump's table. Now, I'm just going to pause you right there. Why stop there? Why $824,000? If you go to Timcast.com, actually, I will do this right now because I think the cap is $1,000, and you click that there. Join us. So this is what we have. You've got up to $1,000. Subscribe and donate more. Now, as an aside, like $10 is how you become a member at Timcast.com, and you get the uncensored show and all that stuff. And then the $25 a month bypasses the screening process and jumps you straight into being able to submit questions and join the higher tier rooms. And then $100 a month is the elite club. But we added 500 and 1,000. Guess what? Very few, but some people do. So my point is just this. Become a member at Timcast.com. No, but it's with this fundraiser with Trump. Why not just say, and there's a $10 million golden share you can sit in. Is there I mean, if these are fundraisers for like PACs or something like this, certainly you can just give more money elsewhere, right? You can make the limit higher. I'm sure people do, though. I'm sure the idea is like you can literally just write a check if you want to. The event will feature former First Lady Melania Trump and 3 of Trump's former primary opponents, Tim Scott, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Doug Burgum. Oh, well, Burgum's going to be there. Burgermania. A source familiar with the event planning tells Axios this event is greatly exceeding expectations and shows the Republican Party is united behind President Trump. When is this? Is this Saturday? Man, I'd love to be there. Probably would not be able to pull that off, though. Let's say sources tell us the eye-popping total was achieved with personal phone calls by Trump, peer-to-peer asks. In this case, some literal billionaire-to-billionaire conversations and a persuasive deck about the electoral outlook by campaign co-manager Susie Wiles. A source involved in Biden's fundraising operation was skeptical on the total being touted for Saturday's event, saying that getting everyone to max out in April is not a sustainable way to fund a campaign. It's a recipe for being broke in the months that will matter, the Democrat told Axios. The source points out that under the joint Trump fundraising agreement outlined on the Palm Beach invitation, a swath of the event's proceeds will go to Trump's political PAC, Political Action Committee, which has been used to pay his legal bills. The agreement prioritizes the PAC over the RNC. And let me tell you something. Why this is all just good news for Trump. They like to keep saying Trump's being forced to pay legal fees. And the narrative works well for Democrats and it works well for Republicans. For Democrats, they can say, look, Trump is ripping off his donors and they're just paying his legal bills because he's a criminal. Sure. His donors gladly would donate for that cause. And then on the other side, Trump says, look what they're doing. They're forcing me to pay legal bills while they're all out campaigning. The reality is the legal fight is campaigning for Trump. It keeps his name in the press. It is earned media. And the people who don't know and don't care, or people who are concerned about these core issues, they're not going to just think like, oh, no, Trump's in jail. That's bad. I can't vote for him. They're going to think, what's going on with Trump? And Trump's going to get an opportunity to speak, and he will constantly be in the press. You can't buy that. You can't. So Trump paying his legal bills is just a part of the process. It all looks good, baby. From the Hill, Democrats see abortion and marijuana juicing youth vote in Florida. Okay, Democrats are morons. Abortion and marijuana. While abortion may be an issue, fine. Marijuana, probably less likely to be so. Gen Z guys are becoming more conservative. So they're targeting young women, not realizing there's this bifurcation. Or maybe they do. But I'm telling you, it ain't going to work. Take a look at this from Real Clear Politics, James Carville. Young men are leaving the Democratic Party in droves. Numbers are horrifying. He says this. I've been very vocal about this. It's horrifying. Our numbers among younger voters, particularly younger blacks and younger Latinos and whatever, younger people of color, particularly males, we're not shedding them. They're leaving in droves. If we don't take time to understand their lives, they think all politics is just a bunch of BS, people arguing back and forth. Here I am, 26-year-old, given interest rates, insurance costs, everything going on. I don't think I'll ever own a house. I'm living with my parents. I think the whole thing is just BS, and I've expressed my contempt or apathy at the system. I'm telling John Della Volpe at Harvard and the Quinnipiac and Marist people, whoever else, I'm disengaged. No, they're voting for Trump, and I'll tell you why. I'm not going to argue with you, but I'll say this to you. You're right. After 4 years, Biden will be gone and Trump will be gone, and maybe the country can get on with a future that includes you. But if Trump wins, understand that you have understand what you have at stake in this election. If Trump is allowed to pack the Supreme Court, they're going to do nothing for the next 40 years but F with you. Forget birth control pills, reproductive rights, forget environmental protections, forget anything. These people are totally committed. And what? You're talking about young guys? I don't care about that. Long after Trump is dead, or Biden is dead, or I'm dead, you're going to live with the consequence of this. This is your life, and we have to explain that we're not going to convince under 35s that we can build a great country for you. They're not going to buy that. Try if you want to, but I don't think we're going to appeal to the better angels of their natures because of complicated economic forces. They don't feel like their future is secure in the U.S., and it may not be. Why is it that so many people are watching Andrew Tate, fresh and fit? Why is it that they're seeing all of these videos talking about passport bros? You know what a passport bro is? It's a guy in America who has little prospect, so he uses his passport to go to a country where women will actually appreciate a well-off American man. So I will tell you this, why you are doomed. He goes on to say, but if you don't vote and you get this Supreme Court, you can what? What did Trotsky say? You cannot care about the revolution, but the revolution cares about you. You're going to be dragged into this, and we need strong advocacy explaining to these youngsters what exactly they have at stake here. I beg the feminists, the conservative feminists, all of these women who are screaming about birth control right now, keep on doing it. Look, I see these women and they're like, is this how you're really going to win over the female vote? Yep. I'm going to tell you why. I don't believe, I grew up and they have this narrative that the only thing men care about is sex. Don't believe it. I don't believe it because I watch comedians and because of the trends we see in social media. Women care deeply about social interaction much more than men. Now, I do believe women care more about other women than dudes. Yeah. And dudes probably care more about other dudes than women. This is true. Like, in terms of goal-oriented success and all that stuff, guys are looking at their peer group and they want to be successful among other men. They want to compete against other men and women against other women. But you take a look at what the end goal is. Guys, like, it is a strong component of all life that people want to couple and have kids and have families and all that stuff. So here's what I'm telling you right now. Guys can't win. And so you know what? They're abandoning the system and going their own way. Not so much MGTOW, but what do you think this will do? Young women won't be able to win either. I think what happens is this. You take a look at comedy, and I'll just use this grain of sand example. I know it's not very strong, but guys joke about the world. And sometimes dating, but the world, and sometimes gross stuff. It's true. Guys talk about a little bit of everything. You look at female comedians, every single time you pull up a female comedian, I'm exaggerating though, but like typically it's dating and sex. Because this is what women think about and care about. For whatever reason, at least right now, I don't know, maybe it's not always. Here's what I see happening. You've got guys with dating apps and with the economy, older guys succeeding. They've got jobs, they're making money, and they're hitting up younger women. Younger guys who are 25, 26. Well, I'll tell you why they're leaving the Democratic Party. They can't find a mate. And the feminists mock them and call them incels and laugh at them. And they'll probably laugh at what I'm saying right now. Make all the clips in the world that you want. I beg you, please. Take everything I'm saying and keep blasting it out. Desperately try to argue against it. I hope and I pray that the likes of Hassan, the Young Turks, Majority Report, all these people take this clip and play it and laugh at the idea. Young men, 26-year-old Gen Z guys, have increasingly high rates of virginity. They're not finding relationships, and they don't know why. One thing I can tell you is you ain't going to be able to compete with a 35-year-old dude when you can't afford a house, when you can't afford a car, when you literally are struggling to even to succeed, when you live with your parents. You're 25, you're out of college, you're looking for work, you're trying to start a business, and you're thinking to yourself, why am I still living at home? How am I supposed to impress these ladies? I go to the bar and I'm like, why don't you come back to my parents' house? You can crash in my bedroom. We got bunk beds. Now, not literally, of course, but yes, these younger guys are pissed off. They're just thinking like, how am I supposed to succeed in this environment when I can't make any money? And all of these women aren't attracted to this. Feminism, all of these things driving guys to the Republican Party. That is a fact. And it's happening in various countries for different reasons. What I see happening then is, guess what, feminists? Men don't have a biological clock. This is the issue. And I know they're going to say, oh, Tim's sexist and all that stuff. I literally don't care. Okay. Let me tell you about biological reality. Women have a biological clock. There's a certain point at which they have to have kids. Men do not. Men can have kids at 70. I don't recommend it. I'm not a big fan of like old dudes and young women or anything like that. But this means the pressure on men is minimal. So right now, as young guys want to start a family, they want to succeed, what are they looking to? Jordan Peterson. They're looking at Andrew, the Tate brothers, Andrew and Tristan. And they're saying these guys are rich, successful, they're ripped for whatever reason. And young guys want that. And the Democrats don't give it to you. They tell you you're the problem. So they leave. Then they say, James Carville says it's young men of color. Yeah, because all you do is scream racism nonstop. You ain't helping these guys. These guys look around and they're like, I'm not getting more money. I'm not succeeding because you scream racism. I need to figure this out. Then along comes Donald Trump and he says, you live here. And they're bringing criminal aliens in from across the border, giving them debit cards. You can't afford a place to live. They're giving them a place to live for free. You can't afford rent. They're giving them free debit cards. How are you supposed to compete in this environment, start a family, and succeed? And they're like, you're right, I can't. So here's what happens. Guys are going to move right because they can't get girls. But guess what? Women are going to become more and more concerned about how much time they have left. Not all women. Some women don't care, and that's fine. You don't have to. But this is we're talking about a pressure system, meaning a greater percentage of women will start getting concerned. Hey, I'm 32. I don't know how many more years I have till I can have a kid. Guess what? 2-1, the guys are all Trump voters. What do you do? Many of these women will absolutely begin to adopt the political views of the potential mates they want. And I hope, look, by all means, leftists, please insult young men more and more and more. Do it. I beg of you. I beg the left to clip these videos and insult young men more and more and more. They don't get it. And that's fine. The more they insult these young guys, the more they say they're the problem, the more they say patriarchy, the more they isolate these young men, the more we are likely to win. They are turning young men into conservatives. The data shows it. Okay. You know what that means? In 10 years, when these guys are 35, and they're like, hey, I'll have a kid when I can have a kid, the women are going to be like, I need to have a kid now. And the guy's going to say, not with you, leftist. And they're going to say, I'm not a leftist, I swear. I was wrong. There's already a bunch of articles that have popped up from women being like, feminists lied to me. So look, I'll stress this. Not every woman is concerned about their years or whatever. Okay. But it is a tendency. Women are going to say, I want to have kids. And they're going to be like, I'm 32. I better have kids now. But the guys that are going to be in the dating pool are going to be 2-1 conservative. So what will they do? They're going to walk up and they're going to be like, hey, nice to meet you. You know, Black Lives Matter and trans rights are human rights. And the guy's going to laugh and go, I'm just not going there, lady. Bye. Because the guy has nothing to worry about. Let me stress this. There certainly will be a lot of guys who are going to be like, I don't care what you think. And they'll white knight and they'll simp. But you see, the issue is going to be this. 2-1 guys are becoming conservative. And they're going to say, I don't have to settle. I can have a kid whenever I want. I can start a family at 40, 50, 60, 70. Heck, you could start a kid at 80. You won't last, or start a family. You won't live very long. But, you know, guys can have kids whenever. And so the issue really is going to be, as millennials and Gen Z age, you are going to start seeing women. I mean, we already are starting to see it. The article's popping up where it's like, feminism lied to me. Where do you think this goes? These women are going to want to find men. There was an article I read a few years ago. This is like 5 years ago. Women in their 30s saying they couldn't find men who made as much money as they did. And I made a video about it and all the leftists got mad. And I'm like, please talk about it. Because the young men who are watching your videos might go, he's actually right. Yeah, let them hear it. See, these women are in their 30s and they want to date guys who are also in their 30s and make the same amount of money. Here's the problem. A 30-year-old man who makes $60,000 a year is hitting up 24-year-old women on Tinder or whatever app they're using these days, huh? Bumble. There's a couple others, right? And he's saying, I can take you out I can pick you up in my car. We can go drive to the lake, get dinner on a rooftop. And these young women are like, awesome. And what for these women in their 30s? Yeah, maybe they could get a guy in their 40s, but they want guys in their 30s. And this is what's happening. So I tell you, I think this is where it's going when you look at the data. Bad news for Joe Biden. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.